back closer to the edge now. Now this is the thumbnail test, by the way. You can see when you put your finger up there, and I don't know if you're catching the light reflecting off that as the steel is actually bowing under my thumb. So that's the indicator of a really well peened blade, and these ones basically come like that out of the box. They may still need the very edge peening, just a one line peen right on the edge, and certainly honing. But as far as general peening goes, they're very good. Now that one I'd be pretty much happy with that as it is. Actually, it's still got the movement of the steel there, and basically as you hone this away in the field, you'll be eventually bringing this edge back so it's more uniform anyway. So that's not such a big dent there that we need to worry about it really. Now this here is a bit of a worry. You can see where I've filed it there, and I've got all these ridges. You need to be very, very careful there. If we were to peen that as it stands, then all these little hollow little areas where the grooves have gone in on the file, they're all going to be basically weak spots. So you're going to need to either fire that up again and just lift the file sharper so it's not going in so deep on those grooves, and then peen, or spend a bit of time with a coarse whetstone trying to even that out a bit, or just not peen it, just peen the very, very edge. But I have scratched that in deeper there than I would have hoped to, so that's something I'm going to have to watch. So you can see there now, that edge is a little bit more uniform, not so much of those sharp grooves in there, which will mean it'll peen more easily, and that you don't have to worry so much about the cracks. So again, have to change over the anvil. Now the basic idea with peening is that we're going to start into the blade a bit. I think I'm only going to do a two line with this. So a one line would be basically right on the edge, just drawing that edge out. And when you're right on the edge, you're not actually drawing out with that same pulling action. It's just from the force of the impact that you're spreading it a bit. That's the idea. You don't want to be thinning it out too much by drawing it. So the first line will be in a mil or so, ideally, and then we run along the edge, and then come back and run along the very edge. Now I'll try putting the camera in my pocket again. Okay, so again we're trying to lie the blade nice and evenly on the high point of the anvil. So the high point of the anvil is here, so if we want to be coming in about a mil, we just want to be lapping it over a little bit like that. and then lift your leg up and down here. It gives you the pivot on the blade, so you can keep the blade nice and flat and hopefully stop that ringing or clangy sound. And with the hand, if you put it at the back like that, you can actually sit your finger on the anvil, and that gives you more control over. It's actually, I tend to do it more like that. Gives you more control over. You can pull it in and back like that. Pull the blade back and forth just by moving the hand. And hopefully you'll only be pulling it back and forth like that as you're first striking it, just to see where your hit is actually getting on the blade, and then you're just dragging it back like that. And yeah, like anything, it takes a lot of practice. You might find that you're able to shuffle it along a bit with your hand as you're striking with a hammer, and the vibration can keep it going like that. Otherwise you might actually need to stop, put your hammer down and pull it along like that, just to give you another handful like that you can then pivot. You can pivot your legs as well to move it along, but you've just basically trying to keep it nice and uniform, find what works for you basically. I'll just I'll give that another buff up first. So now we're actually line peening. We want to use the broad face of the hammer against the narrow face of the anvil. Now you can see, or I hope you can see, that's where that first point of impact was. It's coming up. I'll move the camera around a bit in a minute, and hopefully that'll pick up some different angles on that shiny steel. So I'm actually about 4 mil back there at the moment. For the sake of the exercise, I'll keep going. Anyway, just going to move the camera around. Hope you don't get seasick. I don't know if you can see there the line where the hammer's been striking. That's what the sanding block will bring out for you. You quite often won't be able to see that unless you've buffed up the blade. Yeah, that's the horrible sound you don't want. I'm starting again, and I'm coming in underneath that other line now. I'm going to come right on the edge. I'm going to go very easy there because those little those fire marks are still there, so I don't want to hit those too hard or they'll open up. I might just gloss over that bit. Still just moves under the thumb there, and that's moving under the thumb okay. Right, so now it's coarse whetstone and then the fine whetstone.